of the things that's been an amazing difference in my life is the ability to go on spiritual retreats. And what I found after doing this for over 25 years, it's made an extraordinary difference in my life. Now, I do a bunch of speaking to different audiences, and when I've asked a number of people, have they gone on a retreat? A lot of people will say, no, I've never gone on a retreat before. Or somebody will say, I've been on one retreat. And I've been on many dozens of retreats and led them and staffed them. And it's curious to me as to why people don't do it more often, because it's extraordinary. It's amazing the difference that these various retreats have been. And then I think back and I remember the first time I had never done a retreat. This was in 1989. I was a business executive at Oracle, and I was completely stressed and really in a bad way. My life wasn't working, even though I had all the material signs of success. I was just miserable. And I had met an old friend of mine that I traveled with, and I met her several years later, and I looked at her and I just noticed, oh my gosh, you've completely changed. What did you do? And she said, well, I did this retreat. And she brought me to this meditation center where they said, yeah, we just sit here for 10 days, 13, 14 hours a day. And there's like 100 people just sitting there on a big cushion. And I thought, you're crazy. You're just crazy. This doesn't make any sense to me at all. Anyway, I just left it and I thought, okay, well, I'm sorry I even asked the question. And things got worse in my life, and I actually fell into a pretty deep depression. I was still working. It's just that anytime I had off, I was pretty comatose and pretty desperate. So I thought, okay, let's just try this. I'm really at a low point in my life. Let's just try it. So I go on this 10-day retreat, and 13 hours a day, the first 5 minutes of the retreat, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is awful. This is terrible. I can't sit here. I'm just all fidgety. I can't do any of this stuff. So at lunchtime, I talked to the teacher, and he says, well, just sit down for 5 minutes and get up for 5 minutes. Sit down for 5 minutes and get up for 5 minutes. So that's what I did for the next day. So 13 hours of meditation. I sat down for 5 minutes. I got up for 5 minutes. Next day, I went to see him, and I said, I have a different issue. He said, wait a minute. What about this idea that you can't sit for more than 5 minutes? It's like, you know what? I'm good with that issue, but I have this other issue. And all he did was do this big, hilarious roar. He just laughed, and the whole room filled with his laughter. And that was the end of that interview. And I thought, oh, okay, I have another issue. I get it. Whatever issue I have is just presenting itself, and it'll resolve itself. And I went through the final 10-day retreat, and oh my gosh, it made a tremendous, tremendous, tremendous shift in my peace of mind, my consciousness. I could just feel it energetically. As a matter of fact, they say that any retreat over 7 days, most retreats, will be the equivalent of practicing 2 years on your own. And I felt this. And I said to the teacher, who was a famous teacher, Goenkaji, who started a Vipassana movement, and I said to him, Goenkaji, oh my gosh, this is a huge step. And he just again laughed, and said, oh, this is a very small step. And I said, no, you don't understand, Goenkaji. I was desperate. I was so miserable. I was so desperate. I was even wondering, should I even go on living? I was so desperate, and now this has changed everything. And he laughed again. He said, okay. Maybe it was a big step, but it's a very, very long path. And he was right. So it was a huge step. And since then, I've been on dozens and dozens and dozens of different types of retreats. And it's life altering, it's life changing. Um, Step by step, it's completely changed things. So if you've never done one, I really encourage you, take the time, invest in yourself. Uh, I offer these retreats that are just 2 to 4 days, just to get beginners the opportunity to take 2 4 days just to get away and practice some of these very powerful tools. But there's many avenues for you to do this. So my encouragement, consider it. Consider it. Take a look at this. It can make a tremendous difference in your life. Thank you.